our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Agriculture is our largest industry. Your agriculture information station is WTIM, AM, FM, and online. Tune in or stream WTIM's over 8 hours a day of ag information featuring our local farm broadcaster to be in the know.
Your information station, WTIM.
You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show in our third segment, brought to you by our title sponsors in People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, along with Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman, and our guest in this segment is Carl Baker. Carl Baker is the Assistant Director of the Moultrie County EMA. Carl, how are you doing this morning?
Doing pretty good. Thank you, Grayson. How are you?
I am doing well. Other than that pretty dang cold morning that we just had today, I'm doing all right. And so I think it's awfully fitting with all the weather that we've had, obviously on Sunday and then Monday, to have you here in for the interview here today. And so I am very grateful for that. And I do want to talk about a little bit of that storm and maybe what kind of took place down in Moultrie County, and also just kind of what that entailed for you on your end in terms of warning the folks about the storm, getting people prepared. What did you see from this most recent storm? One of the worst we've seen in a while.
It has. I know at my house, I measured 10 inches of snow. I saw on the news that Taylorville had several inches also. Not on top of that, as Christian County had reported several car accidents. So, one of the things that you need to be prepared, and anybody needs to be prepared when they go out, is being prepared in your car. It's one of the things we really don't think about, but when you're going out, make sure that you have a full tank of gas. You don't know if you're going to get stuck. Depending on the way the wind's blowing, your east and west or your north and south roads will sometimes be drifted over, impacted by snow, ice. Luckily, we didn't get the ice that they did in southern Illinois. We just had the snow. But making sure your car is equipped and ready to go if you have to venture out in the weather. We also recommend that you have water with you, bottles of water, enough for everybody in the car, some protein bars, some snacks, maybe some nuts. And so having that, even a blanket in the car. I keep a blanket in the car, and then sometimes you can see these compact shovels if you have to get out. But, keeping that stuff in the car with you and a full charged battery on your phone is highly recommended, just in case you do get stuck while out driving. But of course, the first recommendation is if you don't have to go out, don't go out.
Absolutely.
Let the snow removal folks get those roads cleared to a better way to go. The other thing is, if you have to go out during the daytime versus nighttime, just because, drifting and blinding snow, you sometimes don't know the road as you do when it's really visible. So those are some things that we highly recommend. If you do get stuck, one of the things that we recommend is that you make sure that the exhaust pipe is clear, free and clear of any snow, so that if you have to run the car for a while to stay warm, you're not having that exhaust come back into the car. And if you do running the car, have a window that's cracked a little bit for proper ventilation. Those are some of the things that we recommend while out driving in the road conditions that we have.
Something I would not have thought of is making sure that tailpipe is not covered. And really, that is a great note there. Carl, would you say one of the biggest ways to be prepared for inclement weather would be just to maybe leave a little earlier if you must leave, or maybe as part of preparedness, just being a little bit more ahead of schedule than maybe you normally would be?
Absolutely. Give yourself more time. Also, when you say about giving yourself more time, but also let individuals know that you're leaving, what time you're leaving, and what route you're taking. Things just come up unexpectedly, but if somebody is aware that you're leaving at a certain time, and we know how long it should take you to get there, and account for some bad weather and bad roads, that we give you a little extra time, but we know that, okay, you haven't arrived here. It's time to maybe start looking or reaching out to see if they're okay.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it briefly there, but if you have to, or if you can, stay home. What does that look like on your end? We're talking about, having to get out in the storm if you really must, but what about staying safe at home?
staying safe at home. People, we're worried about power outages, and a lot of us don't have those backup generators that are built into the house that will kick on and run the whole house. But individuals will sometimes use a small generator to run appliances like a refrigerator or so. And there's some mistakes that people often make on using those portable generators. There's actually 8 dangerous mistakes that people tend to forget about when running that. One is they use them in enclosed spaces. Those generators are actually designed to be used in well-ventilated areas, not in an enclosed space. Don't run them near windows or doors. Place them at least 20 feet away from the windows or doors. Again, it's that ventilation because these do emit carbon monoxide. I'm sorry. People like to run them in the garage, and even if the door is open, never use the generator in the garage. That's the third mistake that people often make. The fourth one is in the elements, they run it on dry surface under a canopy-like structure, but don't do that in carports and so forth. They like to plug them into wall outlets. Again, that could be deadly for you, your family members, the neighbors, utility workers by plugging them into wall outlets. Using the wrong extension cord is also not a wise idea. Using the proper rated extension cord is what is highly recommended. And without a carbon monoxide detector, people use these again. And CO detectors should be tested every month in your house. And the last thing is, if the generator is in disrepair, make sure that generator is well maintained. Sometimes these may sit for a year or two not being used. So make sure that they're tested and fired up, more frequently than just once every 3 or 4 years if you have to pull it out.
Sure. All great notes right there. And you're talking in that last point about making sure that it's, we'll say, up to date, making sure that everything is ready to go in case of an emergency. What can you say about maybe an emergency preparedness kit at home? A lot of people get one ready, they get one started, and then kind of forget about it. And all of a sudden an emergency arises and those items might not be fully good to go. What could you say about being prepared in terms of a kit, even for at home and inclement weather?
Yeah. So if you're at home, power goes out, what should you have an emergency kit? Again, water is one of the most important things. Our body needs to have water. It can run without food more than it can without water. So, having that gallon of water per person per day is highly recommended. That's, by FEMA, IEMA, the American Red Cross. So we recommend that gallon of water per person per day. Having those snacks, power bars, things like that, non-perishable foods. Again, if your power's out, don't expect to maybe use the stove or the microwave. So those type of foods that you want to be able to eat that you can consume without having to use the power. Canned goods are, you could eat, fruit out of a can or things like that, but make sure they have the pop top because most of us don't have that crank can opener. We all have those electric can openers, so that's not going to be good in your time of need when the power's out. Again, batteries for a flashlight. We recommend a hand crank radio. That way you can get the news on there. You can crank it to charge it. You can also use it to recharge your cell phones. Coloring books or some crayons, some cards or something to keep the kids entertained and occupied during disaster. So those are some of the big things. Again, also blankets. If you're going to have to stay together and stay warm if your heat is out. So those are things that we recommend to put in a disaster kit. If the power is out at your house and you can get out and there's some warming centers, we recommend you go to a warming center. That way that you can stay warm while the power is out and then get back to your home safely when the power is restored. Absolutely. And again, just great notes about how to stay prepared. My next question for you might be then, in terms of your home, we've talked about generators and an emergency preparedness kit. Say inclement weather is headed. Are there any recommendations about maybe caring for your home or getting your home even ready when it comes to a storm or something coming in? So, let's talk about the snow that we just got. One of the things in preparing your home is making sure things like your dryer vent that exhausts outside is clear from snow. One of the other things that you want to keep clear of snow is your gas meter. So those are two things that you want to keep and have them uncovered from snow. Again, on the dryer, you don't want that to back up the exhaust into your home. Making sure that your furnace filters are clean and new is something that's important. And then, one thing that we often tend to forget, and we may use it every winter, every fall, is our fireplaces. Making sure that your fireplace is cleaned out and is properly ventilated. You can get creosote that builds up in there, and over time, if it's neglected, can cause blockage up there. So making sure that your fireplace is actually cleaned out is also one thing that we want you to get your home ready. Again, having ice melt products, the snow shovel or snow blowers or whatever you're using is important. If you're using a snow shovel like me, take those breaks. Don't overexert yourself. You hear so many times that somebody has suffered a heart attack because the exertion of moving snow, and you don't do that often, or back pain or so forth, things like that. So if you're looking at your windows and you got cold coming in, they sell things like shrink wrap that go over your windows to keep them. You want to be airtight, not letting that warm air out and the cold air in. Those are some things that we recommend for getting your home prepared.
All things that
Yeah, go ahead.
All things that could easily be missed, though, Carl. You mentioned a few of those things I would have never thought of. The dryer vent, the gas meter. I just personally, that wouldn't even cross my mind. So really for myself here, this is even very beneficial, but I apologize. I cut you off there. What were you wanting to expand on?
One of the other things too is if you're, younger, check on your elderly neighbors. They tend to maybe be cooped up. They may not have people checking on them, or their family that is regularly coming to visit them can't make it because of the inclement weather, the bad roads, or so forth. So check on your neighbors. If you need to help remove the snow from the driveway or sidewalk or so forth, it's always a good thing to check on our elderly neighbors.
I love that note, and I appreciate you mentioning that, and being within or surrounded by those that are elderly. Just a great thing to continue to think about, or especially as some weather is expected to move into the area. Carl, we'll take our first break of the show. Again, we're speaking with Carl Baker. He is the Assistant Director of the Moultrie County EMA. The WTIM Morning Show is brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first alongside Landmark of Taylorville. We'll be right back with our second segment on the WTIM Morning Show on WTIM, your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Nation.
Everyone loves a vacation. No one loves to spend a lot of money. By being an Illinois Farm Bureau member, you have access to a multitude of savings at a variety of hotels to help ease the cost of your vacation. Members save at Choice Hotels, Drury Hotels, Great Wolf Lodge, and Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. Advanced reservations are required, and you will need your Illinois Farm Bureau benefit codes to receive the discounts. Visit ilfb.org for more details or contact your county farm bureau for your exclusive benefits.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Steady trade for corn, beans, and Chicago wheat. March corn, 456 down 2. May corn down 2, 463 3/4. July corn down 1 1/4, 467. January beans, 992 3/4, up half a penny. March beans up 1/4, 997 1/2. May beans, 1007 1/4, down half a penny. March Chicago wheat, 539 1/4, down 3 1/4.
People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, are proud to continue their long-standing sponsorship of honoring Taylorville High School Students of the Month on WTIM's many platforms on AM, FM, and streamed online, and on WMKR, Genuine Country 94.3.
Hello, my name is Logan Henry, and I am the Senior Student of the Month. My parents are Melissa Beeston and Patrick Henry. My extracurriculars is FAA. My interest is gaming, community service, books, and walking. My future plans is to become a welder. My favorite subject is history, ag, and consumer ed.
People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, salutes these great Taylorville High School students on this honor and wish them the best in their future. People's Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
just halting all social media advertising.
The two most overused and abused words in advertising are truth and trust. They are the two most precious commodities for all brands, big and small. As an advertiser, you have to trust your partners to protect your brand's truth using the media consumers trust. Radio, it's on.
Trust the Miller Media Group to deliver your message.
With over 8 hours a day of agriculture programming weekdays and 2 hours on Saturdays, WTIM, AM, FM, and online is your ag information station. Listen by tuning in on air or online and listen to WTIM Ag podcasts anytime.
Hello, this is Dr. Bill Byers, and winter is here, along with all those aches, pains, and injuries. So let me or Dr. Harbert at Byers Chiropractic in Pana help you with all those needs. For more information, go to byerschiro.com or click on my banner ad at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show, brought to you by our title sponsor and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first alongside Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman, and our guest in this segment is Carl Baker. He is the Assistant Director of the Moultrie County EMA, and we've been talking about a little bit with the storm that has taken place and how to be prepared, not only when you're driving, if you must, or also with your home. Carl, with the upcoming weather, we've got a little bit more snow headed our way. What do you do in terms of preparing for a storm that you know about in advance? And could you maybe explain the process of that a little bit for us?
Sure. The emergency management agency of the counties are always being proactive. They're always doing exercises, whether they're local, they're involving local municipalities within the county. I know in Moultrie County, we've got Bethany, we've got Dalton City, Lovington, Sullivan. I know I'm missing one or two out there, but we train and we practice those exercises so that when the disaster happens, whatever it is, we want to be proactive to make sure that the people of the county are safe. And so, throughout the whole year, we do, there's tabletop exercises, there's full scale exercises. If there's a way that somebody in your community can get involved to help with those exercises, it's always good. One of the populations that tend to get forgotten sometimes is our vulnerable populations, persons with disabilities. They're not maybe as mobile as us. So what are we doing to make sure that everybody in our county is included in the response, the recovery of it, and not forgotten? So it's an inclusive training rather than exclusive. So, we work with the local counties, work with the Illinois Emergency Management Agency. We do training classes through FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So we're always doing some training, whether it's in person or it's on computers and working with some book work or classwork. But we're always in contact with each other. I know that Moultrie County, Shelby County, some of those counties that are in your listening area are in the IEMA Region 9, and that group meets quarterly, and so they get together and just go over, what's the latest, the greatest, what's going on, where do we need help at, and things like that.
I've got to say, knowing that we're talking about being proactive rather than reactive, especially when it comes to emergency services, makes me feel a whole lot better. And when it comes to road work and getting those plows out, getting salt down, whatever the case may be, what does it take to arrange that? I think a lot of people just see plows out and about. They don't think about kind of the routes or maybe the responsibilities of each individual driver. How do you make sure that everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing in an emergency situation or in a snow situation like we've had?
The snow situation, we got great workers with IDOT, Illinois Department of Transportation. And those guys are tirelessly out, around the clock when the snow hits, making sure that our bridges are clear. Bridges tend to be the ones that freeze the most frequent or faster than any other place because you've got the air passing underneath the bridge and where the road is sitting right on the compacted ground. So IDOT does a lot of that snow removal. They're the ones that are out there, working hard throughout the night to make sure that our roads are clear. So I want to give IDOT a great round of applause for keeping our roads safe. I drove to Springfield yesterday, and hard to believe that the roads were, they were clear. smooth sailing. And so I know they plan all year round. They're making sure the salt pile, they have enough salt for the roads, the brine that they put on there. So those guys are also preparing all year round.
Well, Carl, I appreciate your time here this morning. We're going to wrap things up here on the WTIM Morning Show. I have learned a whole heck of a lot, especially at the end there about bridges. Did not know that was why they froze over like that. Again, this has been Carl Baker, the Assistant Director of the Moultrie County EMA on the WTIM Morning Show, brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, as well as Landmark of Taylorville. We'll talk soon on WTIM, your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298 CD Shelbyville, 107.9 W300 EH Payne and Nokomis.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The Israeli defense minister says the military has recovered the bodies of 2 more hostages who had been held by Hamas in Gaza. Both males and men were taken captive during the Hamas attack on Israel in October 2023. Several big wildfires continue raging in the Los Angeles area, burning thousands of acres, chasing thousands of people from their homes, leaving many houses and other buildings in ruins.
One fire swiftly consumed a large part of the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, sending residents fleeing down the clogged Pacific Coast Highway. Resident actor Steve Guttenberg was urging people who abandoned their cars to leave their keys behind so that they could be moved.